Directors meeting for February 6th, 2018. I'd like to welcome everybody that's here with us at City Hall as we go about the city's business. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the roll.
Director Hendricks, Director Richardson, Director Peck, Director Hines,
Present.
Director Wright,
Here.
Director Wyrick, here, Director Compuris,
Present.
Director Fordson, Director Adcock,
Present.
Vice Mayor Webb,
Here.
Mayor Stola.
Here. Let me call on City Director Doris Wright for our invocation, please.
May we bow our heads, please? Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to do the people's business. We pray, Lord, that you would guide us and as we make decisions about our city. We pray that you would be with our frontline workers, our firefighters, our police officers. And Lord God, we just thank you for the privilege of serving the citizens of Little Rock. We ask that you bless our city manager and our mayor and our city attorney, and we just thank you for them and the service that they provide us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. If you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we can move right into the agenda. I've got a couple of modifications. Could I have a resolution to add M1 resolution to our agenda, our
So moved.
consent agenda?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to add the M1 resolution to our consent agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
So moved.
By the
Second.
Central Arkansas Water Board of Commissioners. There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That will be deferred till February 20th. Thank you. Okay, we can now move on to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 8 and the addition of M1. Thank you.
The consent agenda consists of a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Alltech Industries Incorporated in amount not to exceed $197,159 for the purchase of one 47-inch digger derrick truck for the Public Works Department and for the purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to accept the offer of a grant increase in the amount of $50,000 from the Pulaski Area Geographic Information Systems for stormwater map data development and for the purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to approve a contract increase with FT and Associates LTD in an amount not to exceed $50,000 to provide technical consulting services for the 2017-2018 GIS stormwater system mapping and data collection and for the purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for studies to improve pedestrian safety on Cantrell Road near Coolidge Street and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to transmit the second payment of a 3-year renewal agreement with SHI Incorporated in the amount of $321,118.39 for Core Cal client access licenses through a Microsoft Enterprise agreement and for the purposes. A resolution to set February 20th, 2018 as the date of public hearing to consider the issuance of water reclamation system revenue bonds for the purpose of financing betterments and improvements to the city's water reclamation system and for the purposes. A resolution of intent regarding MacArthur Park improvements to be financed in part by hotel gross receipt tax bonds and for other purposes. A resolution to set February 20th, 2018 as the date of public hearing to consider the issuance up to $25 million in City of Little Rock, Arkansas taxable industrial development revenue bonds, 3M Project, Series 2018, and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is adopted. The next item on our agenda is citizen communications. Items 9 through 14, please. First reading.
I was trying to get Sheriff because I needed to ask him a question. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled 71 Hunters Green Circle, revised short form PDR, located at 71 Hunters Green Circle, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned office district titled Pollock Realty, revised short form PDO, located at 4016 Stannis Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Ace General Contractors, short form PID, located at 10,819 Stagecoach Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Mosaic Church of Little Rock, revised long form PCD, located at 6221 Colonel Glenn Road, Pulaski County, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 21,129 of November the 3rd, 2015, titled Central Arkansas Urgent Care, short form PID, located in the 7400 block of Lindsay Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and to revoke a planned zoning development and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Rainwood Village, short form PDR, located at 12,115 Rainwood Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes first reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled 71 Hunters Green Circle, revised short form PDR, located at 71 Hunters Green Circle. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned office district titled Pollock Realty, revised short form PDO, located at 4016 Stannis Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Ace General Contractors, short form PID, located at 10,819 Stagecoach Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Mosaic Church of Little Rock, revised long form PCD, located at 6210 Colonel Glenn Road. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 21,129 titled Central Arkansas Urgent Care, short form PID, located in the 7400 block of Lindsay Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Rainwood Village, short form PDR, located at 12,115 Rainwood Road, second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled 71 Hunters Green Circle, revised short Green Circle development, establish a planned office district titled Road. An ordinance to approve a planned district titled Ace General Contractor, short from PID, located at 10,819 Stagecoach Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Mosaic Church of Little Rock, revised long form PCD, located at 6221 Colonel Glenn Road. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 21,129 titled Central Arkansas Urgent Care, short form PID, located in the 7400 block of Lindsay Road, and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish planned residential district titled Rainwood Village, short from PDR, located at 12,115 Rainwood Road, third and final reading.
Before I ask for a vote on these, I noticed that Ralph Shoptaw, the executive director of our state fair, is here. On item 12, it's my understanding, Mr. Moore or Mr. Carpenter, that the Mosaic Church has agreed that this will not conflict with the state fair, that they'll do this 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks after the fair is complete. Is that correct?
Let me ask Mr. Collins to come forward, who has had direct conversations with him. Jamie.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, they've agreed to hold their fair after the state fair, in the parking lot. It wasn't set a specific 2 weeks, but it is set after the fair, and they both have been in conversation, and so they're agreeable with that.
So is that part of this ordinance? The language that it'll be done after the fair?
No. And I'm not sure that it should be. I'm not sure that a private agreement between individuals needs to be part of a zoning ordinance for the city to enforce.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Let me call on Mr. Shoptaw. Mr. Shoptaw, have you got an agreement with the Mosaic Church as it relates to this? I just want to, obviously the State Fair grounds and the State Fair is very important to the city and to the state, and I want to make sure we don't have any conflicts. So would you kind of tell us what you've been able to
Yes,
done?
we have been in conversation with Mosaic Church and Mr. Lee, and we have agreed verbally, and we have basically an email agreement that, and it is documented by email, that we have agreed to, that they would not bring a carnival in and have their fair until after our fair is complete.
Okay, can I call on our representative from the Mosaic Church? Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine.
If you'd identify yourself, please.
I'm Harry Lee, Senior Pastor at Mosaic.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, Reverend Lee. Can you tell us, have you had these discussions, and are you in agreement that the carnival that Mosaic will be hosting will be held after the fairgrounds?
Yes, we've had
And
those
is that going to be a
discussions.
continuing,
Yes, ongoing. We're
arrangement?
committing to that.
okay, very good.
I have a question. All your lights are on.
Okay, let me go ahead and ask, there's, just a second. Go ahead, Director Hendricks, please, go ahead.
I think Mr. Shoptalk sort of gave me the eye when he came through the door. Do you have this in writing, that agreement?
Only through email. Be glad to put it in writing.
What?
We have it only through email, but I would be happy to put
Yeah,
it
you
in
need to
writing.
get some signatures.
Okay.
Thank
sure.
you.
Director Richardson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Shoptalk, glad to see you here tonight. And back to Tom's point, I think any kind of agreement that they have, the only opposition or potential opposition we've had on this has come from the State Fair, and this is it was approved at the Planning Commission level 11-0, and staff's recommending approval. So I think it's to me, Director Hendricks is a done deal. If Mr. Shoptaw is okay with it, and they have a private agreement among themselves, that I think that takes care of it for me. And you too, Reverend.
Thank you. And Mosaic Church is doing a great job
Yes.
on that corner of University. You've done some tremendous improvements to it, and we want to thank you for that. So best
Thank
of
you.
luck on a carnival after the State Fair.
All right.
You
Thank
bet.
you very much.
Okay, all in favor of the passage of the ordinances as read indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinances have been approved. We can now move on to our separate items, items 15 and 16, and let me ask for the, Madam Clerk, we have not had a reading yet on ordinance 15, is that right? It's just been deferred?
Right.
Okay, first reading, please, on ordinance number 15.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Highway 10 Storage Center, revised long form PCD, located at 9300 Ferndale Cutoff, Pulaski County, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes, first reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Highway 10 Storage Center, revised long form PCD, located at 9300 Ferndale Cutoff, second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to place on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Highway 10 Storage Center, revised long form PCD, located at 9300 Ferndale Cutoff, third and final reading.
Okay, we've had some discussion on this in terms of the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction concerning the fireworks issue here. Let me call on the applicant or the applicant's representative, please. Welcome, Mr. Giles.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Good to see everybody again. I'm Steve Giles, Little Rock attorney representing Kevin Bailey. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Bailey and.
He's right behind you.
Yeah, but I want to finish a couple of points first and just, then I'm going to give the mic to him because it's, this is his deal. We're asking to amend the PCD that Graham Smith got approved with the mini warehouse facility. There was a misunderstanding, and he was going to add the fireworks use as an allowable use in his PCD application, and it didn't happen, so he went on ahead and zoned. And that's why Mr. Bailey has been told that he needs to come and amend that PCD to allow the fireworks to seasonal sales to continue. And so we appreciate your comments and questions. We worked very diligently with staff, and Tom Carpenter and I worked together on trying to get some language to put in there to kind of explain the, what's going to be done if it's approved, to give you some detail of it. And over the course of time, as we've been kind of watching your videos and my questions I've gotten from several of you that I've spoken with, we've agreed to modify the request, and now just to have one sales season a year, that'd be the 4th of July season, to shrink the number of days to 10 days with the hours of operation that were 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. 7 days a week, just for those 10 days, and not requesting the Christmas sale. And so this is a very quiet, low-impact use. He has a good relationship with Graham Smith, the owner of the property, and so we're just asking you to accept these conditions that we voluntarily offered to give you, that we hold ourselves to it if this is approved. I'm going to read it to you. Oh, I'm going to hand them out to you first now. Don't you have those to them?
Mr. Giles, can I ask you just a question?
Sure.
So the owner of the property is not coming forward with this amendment. Has he signed an agent representation for you or for Mr. Bailey to be able to come forward with this?
Well, the White Daters Engineers Office was handling this before, and Graham, I've talked to him several times on this, and so my understanding, I didn't file the original application. He had White Daters.
Well, I understand. That's my point. But on this one, Mr. Carpenter, or maybe perhaps for Mr. Collins, I thought there was a requirement that there's some establishment of at least an agent representation for someone that doesn't own the property to come forward with an amendment or some kind of a rezoning issue.
There's a requirement that if somebody's an agent, to be able to come forward with anything, they've got to have that authority. The board's practice has been you will not put into place a more restrictive condition on a zoning matter unless it's requested by the owner or the owner's designee. And so I think the question for Mr. Giles is, does he have the authority to say that the owner is willing to be bound by this condition?
Yes, I do. We spoke with Graham today and told him, I read the exact language to him, says I approve.
Okay, I just thought it was important to get that on the record one way or the other.
The language is the sale of fireworks. This will be in another section in the ordinance, I would think, but Tom would be doing the drafting.
For the mayor's benefit, if this is accepted, we would suggest it become a new section 5 and that the sections below that will be renumbered in the final ordinance.
Do you want me to read it aloud, Mayor? For the audience, I guess.
Well, everybody's got it. I think they understand it. So, okay. Anything else, Mr. Giles?
I'd like to have Mr. Bailey just tell you a little bit about his business and just very few short remarks, and we'll save it for questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Hi, my name's Kevin Bailey. I'm with Merrimack Specialty Company, and we do business as Fireworks City. We've been at the Cantrell Ferndale Cutoff property for 19 years. We got there, or 18 years, I'm sorry. We got there in 1999. I couldn't believe how long it was when I was looking that up. And we've been just operating there, having a great time doing it. we've been in business, our business has been in West Memphis since 1960. And what we do at that location is, like others that we predominantly hire school teachers. We have a school teacher that's been with us the entire 18 years, named Kim Carmack from Bryant High School. And she has, in turn, brought students there. We've had dozens of first-time workers come to that tent. And that was her first job. Everybody remembers her first job. And but we have a large, for us, it's a large financial investment in the property. When Graham bought the property, it was sort of on a hill. He cut it down. We had to go back in, redo areas for our tent, parking, electric, and lighting. And we buy fireworks. We import our own fireworks. We've already bought the fireworks for it for this time. But that's really all I had. I'd appreciate your support and help with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. There may be some questions.
Sure.
Director Adcock, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Director Wright, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, Mr. Bailey, I do have a question.
Oh.
Since you've been operating there for 19 years, if this is turned down, do you intend to continue to operate there?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, I mean, obviously, this rezoning, when was this first rezoning done?
Mr. Collins.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mayor, it was zoned C3 several years ago, but the last rezoning, and which really constitutes why we're in here, was the PCD, or the Plan of Commercial Development, that was zoned by Graham in June of 2016. And that's where the use specified.
Okay. So, Mr. Bailey, I presume you sold fireworks there in July of 2016 and in July of 2017 and perhaps during the holiday, Christmas holiday?
We did not at the Christmas holiday.
Okay,
the other
but
two
during
we
the
did.
4th of July seasons
Yes,
you did?
sir.
Okay. So, and I know where the place is, and I probably would have to admit that there's somewhere that I bought some fireworks from there and shot them off outside the city of Little Rock.
Of course.
So, so the question I have really is a policy question of legitimizing something that we say is illegal. I mean, I presume you've sold fireworks there even after this rezoning, and that did not include this particular item, and I would suspect that you probably would sell fireworks there if this is turned down. I just was curious whether you would acknowledge that, or if you made that decision or not.
Well, I really hadn't given it a whole lot of thought of
Okay.
being, I thought we made, we kind of, Graham's intention is to develop the property. We're an interim use there. We generate interim income for him until the highest and best use can be made for that.
Very good.
He's got a 5-phase program going on that piece of property with the storage units. And I think he can always, and I think he could put commercial on the corner as well. So what we've agreed to is just to say, if you annex, or if the property, if Graham develops it, our 5 years pass, it'll end.
And we have that information. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have one card. You please have a seat. I do have one card who wishes to speak against this item. Mr. Muse?
Mayor, Mr. Moore, directors, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. My greatest concern is that this will set a precedent for other businesses that are outside but also within our extraterritorial jurisdiction. And it will be difficult to step down from that or step back from that if you approve this. And our experience has been, in our neighborhood and others, that 10-day period gets stretched much further than 10 days of shooting fireworks. And mixed in with that shooting of fireworks are gunshots that go on forever and ever. And I just don't want to set a precedent that would cause more and more to come to your board to get approval, since we have given this approval to this applicant. So that's my main concern. I wish that you would not agree to it. I wish that you would not allow this use. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Muse. Okay, we have some board members that have some questions. Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
Mr. Carpenter, when the mayor asked you his question, I really did not understand your answer, because I've sat up here many a times and listened to you tell people that they can't be representing an owner here. The owner has to be here, or they have to have a written piece of paper stating that they have the right of the owner. And I don't think Mr. Giles answered that he had a written statement, just that him and the owner was friends and that he's representing him.
Director Adcock, what the board has demanded in the past is that the person that speaks has the authority of the owner to make the recommendation for a more restrictive matter. And that was the question that I posed to Mr. Giles, and he unequivocally said that he had that authority and that he had talked to the owner this afternoon. I mean, in addition to having known him for 30-something years and that he's honest.
Well, Mr. Giles is an honorable man.
Right.
But we have sat up here with other people, questioning them, and I'm sure they're as honorable as Mr. Giles, and yet we have made them obey the rules.
I don't remember any time that we have had a presentation made to us by an engineer or anybody else that we asked for a written verification that they had that authority. I think the board's accepted that. Your point is valid. If you wish not to accept that authority, you're free to do so. But I mean, that you're free to do so if you want to wait and get something in writing, but you have not required it in the past on others.
I think we have, particularly on Asher Avenue, I can think of a couple times. Also, why do we not have fireworks in the city limits of Little Rock?
Because the board has made the policy decision that it's dangerous and they don't want to have them.
As a board member, I can't say it's dangerous on Canis Road, but it's not dangerous when you go around the corner to this property. And we know that the fireworks out there are being sold to people in the inner city. Some neighborhoods out in West Little Rock, fireworks are fireworks. But when you get to the inner city, southwest Little Rock, lots of areas of Ward 6, Ward 7 and everything, fireworks could be gunshots. And I think when we encourage fireworks to move closer to the city, or to keep fireworks closer to the city, then we just encourage more problems for our police department and for our neighborhoods. And I can't vote for one street to have fireworks because it's in West Little Rock, and other areas can't have fireworks because to me they're dangerous to everyone. Thank you.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Yes, I guess my question is for the city attorney. I don't know if the city manager wants to weigh in or not. But I noticed that staff had recommended approval for this, and I'm kind of thinking along the same lines as Director Adcock, but I'm wondering if we're setting a precedent because the people that are buying these do live in the city limits, and they're going to bring them back into the city limits. But this place has been there all this time, so it just seems to be a dilemma, and if we're setting a precedent, it just seems like we are.
Well, I think that what Director Adcock said and what you've just said, Director Wright, are legitimate policy questions to ask when you decide whether or not to approve this zoning request.
Mr. Moore, what about your staff recommending approval?
Sure. Let me ask Mr. Collins to come forward and explain the rationale. Jamie?
Director Wright, you did hit on a little bit of the rationale of why we did that. One of the things that we didn't explain in detail is that underlying zoning that it went for before the PCD was C3, which bear in mind that the the sale of fireworks is not in the zoning code. It's in a separate ordinance. It is the retail sales, in that, in the PCD that's not allowed because unless they specifically requested. And that's the fireworks. If it was C3, and it is outside the city limits, then that type of retail sales is allowed. So the fireworks sales would be allowed in a C3 zone outside the city limits. It's the planned commercial development because it gets a little bit more detailed in what you can do in specific uses rather than a broad C3 zoning classification. And so when they come through and they rezoned it for a planned commercial development, you can get as specific as a specific use to mini warehouse or retail sales or seasonal sales, or phased sales or phased construction. And that's what we're, looking at tonight. So our support come because of the longevity of the fireworks sales on the property and for the fact that prior to 2016, it was C3 and would have been allowed outside the city limits. Because we look at just the sale of the fireworks, not the fact that the other ordinance in our codes is for that you can't sell fireworks within the city limits.
And Mr. Carpenter, this will become a part of the ordinance.
It will also, before this was deferred, my memory is that there was an agreement that, well, it's in there. When the property is annexed, they can no longer sell the fireworks.
Okay.
It would become a new Section 5 is the recommendation we're making, and then we would renumber some of the last sections in the ordinance.
All right, thank you.
Director Hendricks says, call for the question. There's a second. There are other people who, Director Wyrick wishes to still speak. I'm just letting everybody know before they vote. No, I'm going to call the question. I just wanted to let people know there were other board members who wish to speak, and the question does take precedent. So all in favor of calling the question indicate by saying aye. Aye. Both saying nay. Nay. The nays have it. So we'll continue with the questioning by Director Wright. Are you finished?
Yes.
Director Wyrick, you're next, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Collins, could I ask you a question? About 2 weeks ago, I came before the Planning Commission to get something passed in regards to Little Oaks Ball Field. And I was grilled to the 9th degree about whether I had the authority to ask for this particular thing before the Planning Commission. And I was required to get an affidavit that said that I could be an agent for this application. Okay? So why do we not have that affidavit for this application tonight? And why did that not go to the Planning Commission in that direction? I think I'm an honorable person, just like Mr. Giles. I would not be coming forward to a Planning Commission or anybody else if I didn't have the authority to work on a piece of property. But I was required to sign an affidavit with my name on it by the people that own the property. So what's the difference in this?
Director Wyrick, there is an affidavit in the file. The affidavit is for the representative from White Daters to represent, the client in these matters on the deal. Mr. Giles is an attorney, and Tom, the city attorney, can talk about the legality of when an attorney represents somebody. And we received an email from Mr. Giles stating that he is representing that client to do so. At that time, it was, we deemed that that attorney was representing that client, from that point forward. And I do have that email. I have it with me,
Who was
but
the client? Was it Mr. Bailey or was it Mr. Smith?
It was Graham Smith.
No, you got an email from Mr. Smith.
Well, I got an email from Mr. Giles saying that they was representing the client.
And did he reference who the client was?
Let me look at it real quick, see if I can pull it up. He represents the applicant, Kevin Bailey.
So you take that as the, as a sworn affidavit then?
Yeah, that's a.
Mine had
that's
to
the
be
attorney.
notarized and the whole bit, so.
Well, the affidavit that other people are signing is for engineers and other people to represent them. And that's something they'll have to get in with, ask Tom the legality of it. But, we take it as when a attorney is representing somebody and states that they are their attorney, then that is the representation.
I just think that there's a little bit of difference here. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, there's some stipulations in this PCD that talk about this fireworks stand will stay until Phase 5, and when that building is built, then the fireworks will go away. And then we have this other thing where it says that it will last no longer than 5 years. The PCD was approved in 2016. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. And so a PCD is only good for 3 years. In the event that nothing happens on this piece of property in 3 years, how does this document help us?
Something has already happened. I mean, they started on the Phase 1, the building of the mini
Okay,
warehouses.
so they have started it.
Yes, so they started and that, locks in that.
It locks in the timing. Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
All right, Director Hendricks, do you have any questions?
I call for the,
All right, that completes the cards that we have in the discussion. Mr. Giles, I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Yes. If the board is really having some serious concerns about whether to vote for this, but for the problem or the situation that there's no written affidavit, we would certainly, we can obtain that and get it here if we can have a deferral, and I could get that into Mr. Collins in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. We'll see if there's a motion to that effect or not.
Okay.
Any motions? Doesn't appear to be. So all in favor of the passage of the ordinance indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Madam Clerk, roll call has been requested.
Director Wyrick? Director Campuris? Director Fortson? Director Adcock? Director Hendricks? Director Richardson?
Yes.
Director Peck? Director Hines? Director Wright? Vice Mayor Webb? 7-2 and 1 absent.
By a vote of 7-2, the ordinance is passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. All right, very well. We can now move on to item 16. And let me ask for first reading of that ordinance as well.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled AEDD, short form PCD, located at 105 East Roosevelt Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes, first reading.
Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled AEDD, short form PCD, located at 105 East Roosevelt Road. Second reading.
Suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, saying nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled AEDD, short form PCD, located at 105 East Roosevelt Road. Third and final reading.
Mayor, we cannot get our lights to work. You've got them up.
Okay, go ahead, Director Adcock. You're recognized, please, Director Adcock.
Mr. Moore, I requested last week that you or Mr. Collins contact the St. John's Baptist Church, which is located right beside this building, and talk to the pastor about this application. Was that done?
It was not done, Director Adcock. I was not able to get in touch with the pastor.
I know these special event centers have liquor not sold there, but they bring liquor in, and I know that most of the churches in the cities do not allow that on grounds around their churches, so I was wanting to have that from the pastor before I voted. Thank you.
Okay, Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Moore, aren't we required to notify them prior to this coming before us? And has there been any express opposition from them after we notify them that this is a potential building or potential event center in their community?
Mr. Collins, will you come forward and talk about who was notified and any letters of opposition or calls?
Director Richardson, we notify within the 200-foot radius from the property, and we also notified the Community Outreach Neighborhood Association and the Meadowbrook Neighborhood Association were notified. We did not receive any letters in. There were no registered objectors present at the Planning Commission.
None from any neighborhood association or the church?
No, it was on the consent agenda.
Okay, and then we did have a memo, I do believe, in the Pony outlining the number of event centers within that close proximity to that area. Did we not?
Yes, we did. That was a request by the mayor. He was requesting if there's any other event centers in the immediate area. So we took a radius of 10 blocks, and there was none in the 10-block radius.
Thank you. I want to make sure I remember that correctly. Thank you, Mr. Collins and Moore. Mayor.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I think I served in Mr. Moore's place. I did meet with staff at the church, and there's no opposition from the membership, nor from any of the neighbors. We're glad from whatever they're getting ready to do. And I've attended many affairs at that facility. And last week, it was something that came up about liquor. Suppose somebody's going to have a wedding and they have their champagne. There's nothing wrong with that because they would not be selling that liquor. They would be serving that liquor. That came up in last week. So, you know, if they're going to have champagne, so what? I support it.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Mayor, Director Hendricks just answered my question. I believe this is her church, or it used to be. It is, so I figured she would know. I know, I don't speak for my pastor or the church, but I know what they would and would not support. So I'm okay as long as she's okay.
Very well. Okay, all in favor of the passage of ordinance 16 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. We'll now move on to the public hearing. And let me open up the public hearing first of all and ask for the first reading of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance to abandon a utility and drainage easement located in Lot 1, Canis Commercial Edition, located at 9101 Canis Road in Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes first reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to abandon a utility and drainage easement located in Lot 1, Canis Commercial Edition, located at 9101 Canis Road, second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
A motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to abandon a utility and drainage easement located in Lot 1, Canis Commercial Edition, located at 9101 Canis Road, third and final reading.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak either for or against this particular ordinance on abandonment? Anybody who wishes to speak for or against? Hearing none, let me go ahead and close the public hearing and ask for a vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, saying nay. The ordinance is passed.
May I have a question?
Yes, go ahead, Director Hendricks.
Tom, if I'm too late to ask for a roll call. For
You want a
the
roll call
last
on that
vote,
last
the
vote?
St. John. For the last vote, I wanted to ask if I could
Once the
ask for
vote
a
has been
roll call.
taken, you're not supposed to revisit it unless there's a motion to reconsider by someone who voted in favor.
What did Tom say? I don't know nothing you said. You mumbling. Yeah.
The answer is no.
The answer is no?
Right.
Okay, thank you. But I know who voted. Thank you. Our church will take care of that.
Okay, that concludes our agenda. A couple of items. First of all, Mr. Moore, I know that I'm sure Mr. Giles had the authority to represent, and I know engineers, lawyers, a variety of people come on in the agency relationship. I think Director Wyatt brought up a good point. It may be a little inconsistent how we apply that, so perhaps we can have everybody look at that from a staff standpoint and make sure we have some consistency on this agency representation issue. If you would, take a look at that, please.
Thank you.
I think we can fix that up, tighten it up a little bit. Thank you.
One more. The doctor.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple other things. Director Compuris, you're recognized.
An easy, well, maybe not an easy request, but Bruce, can we get Tad or somebody from Central Arkansas Water and give us an update on where they are on our extraterritorial water that we're giving out, where we stand on the lease purchase of the extra water that we have been looking into, and a general update on the finances and how we're doing with our water system. We are expanding, I think, to Maumelle right now. Is that correct? Or we have? And I think we need to be able to tell people what they're going to pay, what the owners of the property are paying, and how we stand. And, I know I harp on our extra source of water, but, Cape Town is getting ready to go under because it doesn't have any water. And I think we need to make sure right now, while we're not in a crisis, that we have the ability to do things. And so we haven't had an update in a long period of time, and I think it'd be a good time to do it.
Very good. And just Director Hendricks, you're next, please.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, put your pen in your hand, 2600 Chester. I want that house either torn down or restored. I've looked at that house for some 20-some odd years, and 10 years, 11 years on that board. So I keep my shades and blinds closed on the south side of my house to keep from looking at that house, which is 1 block from where I live. Okay? Thank you.
Director Wyrick.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, we've got the study going on for the extraterritorial boundary, and I met with Jamie and some concerned citizens a while back, and then I started getting emails about our contractor's going to meet with different groups, and Jamie and I communicated a little bit. He tried to send me a schedule, but my computer was in the hospital, and I couldn't pick the schedule up on my cell phone. But the only way I would have found out about it as residents were sending me information. That's an important issue for our city, I believe, to do this study. I don't know how many people on the board are interested in it, but if there's a schedule where our contractor's going to be meeting with folks, I think it ought to be publicized to us so we can be there. I think maybe they're going to meet with 2 or 3 different groups within the community, which I think is good. But I would definitely like to be informed of those meetings and to get as much information as the citizens get in regards to the study and where we are with it. So if you can help me get that done, I would appreciate it. I don't know if anybody else is interested in it or not. Some of the things I worry about are, we talked about the extraterritorial boundary, maybe pulling it in, pushing it out, and what types of development that we're going to look at. And I know there's a lot of extraterritorial out west, but we have some in southwest as well. So I would definitely like to be kept in the loop on that.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Yes, Mr. Moore, there is a burnout house that's been condemned between Archwood Drive and Bryant Street. And it's been there for quite some time, and I would like to put that on the demolition list, or staff to either that or give me a report as to what's going on with that, because it's been in that condition for quite some time. It's in that block. As you come off Archwood, turning on Bryant. You can only turn one way. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, yes, go ahead.
Scott. One of the things that we talked about late last year, as the board is aware, we implemented a hiring incentive for our recruits. I will say, I heard even as late as Friday that it's really paying dividends, not only from the standpoint of we're down to about 25 vacancies, but I really hear that this incentive is making a difference in our recruitment activities. But there have been some dialogue around should there be some potential components that include if these officers were to leave at a point very soon after their graduation from the academy, what recourse might we have? So I looked at some other policies that the city has regarding tuition reimbursement. As you know, we also offer city employees that live outside the city incentives to move into the city. So with that, Scott, if you have the next, I just want to kind of put it in perspective. Since we started doing this, we've had Class 85, Class 86, and Class 88 that just graduated on Friday. We did have 2 out of that class of 85 to resign. But the interesting thing about that is they didn't know they were getting the bonus. That was a surprise for the incentive at at graduation. So I just wanted to kind of give you the numbers. But with that said, what we are putting in place is, next slide, Scott. So the individual who resigns before 1 year since their graduation would have to return 100% of the incentive. An individual who resigns more than 1 year but less than 2 years from graduation will return 50% or $2,500 of the incentive back to the city. And again, looking at other incentives that we offer and trying to be consistent. And so we're putting this in place now, but I think it's important to note that it won't really impact until the August 28 class because we've already hired the recruits that will start in a few weeks. So that's the policy or the procedure that is being implemented.
Very good. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
You know, I wouldn't be a minority if I didn't say what I'm about to say. When I saw that graduation class, and the majority of those graduates were Caucasians, it bothered me. And I don't know how many people up here would have the nerve to say that. But I think, Bruce, if I can help you at all to recruit more minorities, and I'm doing you an FOI because I want to know where did they come from. Thank you.
Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
Class, you presented at the end of the graduation, you presented the checks to them. And I noticed at the 88th, you did not present the checks. What was the thought of that? Because I thought that was a real high point of your graduation when those young people got that check and their families and everyone saw that we really appreciated them.
Really, Director Adcock, the length of the program started getting too long, and they want, after they graduate, they're ready to get with their families. But I did meet with them, and each of them got their check on Friday afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Webb, you're recognized, please.
Thank you for this information. Can you just email us this?
I will. I'll send it out tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple of other items. Due to the National League of City meeting on March 13th, which is an agenda day meeting, we're going to try and have the agenda the week earlier. We'll do it right after the board meeting. We'll have the agenda meeting for the March 20th meeting. And I just want everybody to know we'll have the 13th off. For those of you who are on some of the boards that the NLC has that you has to be appointed to, that'll give you an opportunity to be able to participate. Okay, and then the final thing I have is, believe it or not, it is Ken Richardson's birthday today. Director Richardson, we want to wish you a very happy birthday and many, many more. You're recognized.
Yes, Director Wyrick. I'm 29 again. Mayor, I want to thank you and Vice Mayor and my colleagues and Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Moore for deciding to have a board meeting tonight on my birthday. I want to thank you guys more importantly for televising this for those who couldn't make this party tonight for family and friends. So I'm really appreciative that you guys have decided to meet and have a birthday party with me and televise it as well. And I will tell my mom if she's watching, Mom, I will follow my long-standing tradition that what I've done, Mayor, when I came into consciousness, on my birthday, I give my mother a gift because I didn't do any work on February 6th, many, many moons ago. So she did all the work, so I give her a gift on my birthday. And thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging that. And thank you guys for staying for the party.
Thank you. Would you like to make the motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. We're in adjournment. Thank you.